people coming for the first time, we always start by reading a text. So we read some 2 or so pages, beginning here. Yes, so somebody, oh, I've not shared. Have I shared? Yes, I've shared. Everyone able to see my screen?
Yes.
Good. So we can read. Who wants to start for us?
I can read.
Yes.
The cost of not following your heart is spending the rest of your life wishing you did. Unknown. The great leaders in history, all celebrities and stars, all heroes are whom they are because somehow they discovered their purpose and opted to pursue it, deliberately or otherwise. The Creator is a supreme being of diversity. He never meant that everyone should be the same things. Take, for example, if a man creates or builds anything, does he just do it aimlessly without purpose? Not really. When we make a vehicle, we know exactly what it is meant to do. We cannot put a tractor to be a public service vehicle. We cannot use a car to plow. If we build a house, we know exactly what it is meant for, and therefore equip it appropriately, isn't it? Therefore, logical, isn't it? Therefore, logical that the
Isn't it therefore logical?
Okay, it is therefore logical that the ultimate creator had to have a sole purpose for every creature, and therefore fully equip them for the predetermined purpose. I think so. Oh, sorry, it cannot be otherwise. Following your heart and intuition, they somehow already know what you truly want to become. Everything else is secondary. Steve Jobs. If you join me in accepting the above stated reasoning, then you must also join me in this. You also have a purpose in life. And as long as you are not pursuing this, your preordained purpose, you are not likely to achieve any reasonable level of happiness and fulfillment. Imagine a cow put to yoke for plowing instead of an ox. Imagine Mike Tyson, Iron Mike, put on a 100-meter race in Olympics and not boxing. Imagine Mike Jordan in a football pitch. No way. Could that be you? Fully equipped and endowed for a certain field, but trying luck in some other domain. I hope not. If you think otherwise, you're probably right. At this point, it is necessary for us to agree that if you look at your natural talents and gifts, you probably are not far from what you could do best. List some of the things you are naturally good at. Check your academics, your extracurricular activities, your heart, and your talents. If you group these things, you may be able to get a convergence that should be able to point clearly what you are meant to be. The convergence between what you are good at doing and what you really love doing and draws natural enthusiasm from, enthusiasm that begets creativity and induces the extra mile principle in you. The extra mile principle, lack of which success tends to elude many people. It is never too late. In case you are in a different field and feeling pissed off, to relive your purpose and to rekindle your dream, you can do it. We know of people who joined athletics in their 50s and won gold medals at 80. Again, it is never too early. You are not too young. No reason can block you. Whether disability, background education, whatever it may be, nothing at all except you. I'm told of an African proverb that says, if there is no enemy within, the enemy without can do you no harm. It is not easy to become a big success in a field where you are not naturally or genetically biased to. I mean, in a field that is really foreign to your being. It may be difficult to believe or to conceptualize, but in order to illustrate this, imagine if Jesus Christ changed his life's mission from salvation and establishment of God's kingdom to fishing and feeding people with nutritious sea delicacies, or building low-cost houses to house the less fortunate, or running a carpentry workshop. Perhaps very few would have noticed him, and most likely not many people would still be talking about him over 2,000 years later. Do you agree? How about if Amadeus W. Mozart chose to pursue another discipline, say law, as opposed to music? And for your information, it is said that the Bill Gates' parents had wanted him to, and instead insisted that he should go study law. What would have happened if he only budged out of respect and followed the desire of his parents? Success is the progressive realization of a predetermined worthy ideal. Al Nightingale. Another example in this, suppose Nelson Mandela chose to be a lecturer in a university, for example, Oxford University, lecturing political science, or if he ended up being perhaps a civil engineer in South Africa, maybe he would not have achieved really close to what he did in his political career. And that does not necessarily mean such alternative paths are mean or of less importance. We have had others in such fields who became true. But every leader arises to greatness because of choosing to defy the common beliefs or logical arguments, and then daring to follow what the heart shows him or her to be the right path. To many, the first consideration is, how much can I earn doing this? And in many cases, it doesn't look promising. That which your heart tells you to do. It is wrong. It is a wrong philosophy. It pays more, not necessarily in monetary terms, when you follow your bliss, as Buddha said. So here is the other truth you may want to know. If you do what you love to do, money will find you anywhere. When you are in a field that you are meant to be, you'll be having an unmatched passion that begets creativity and tenacity, both of which are very essential ingredients in your path to the top. Also, it is important to know that you may have all the money without satisfaction, no happiness, no feeling of fulfillment. Following your passion will make you feel, look, and live much better, happier, and healthier.
We can leave it there. We can leave it there. Thank you. We can leave it there. Thank you very much, Jane. I think that is good enough chunk for us to ponder over and make it reach home. So we can get started. After that reading, we can now start discussing what we got from that section of the text. That book is called Live Your Dream in 7 Ds, Achieving the Lifestyle You Desire One Step at a Time, by Otieno Paul Peter, published 2017. So let's contribute. I'd like somebody here to get us started. That is Aloysius. Aloysius, I think it is your time, because this has been something you've been looking forward to. What did you get? And are you getting help? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Paul Peter and the group. Yeah, what triggered my mind today is what you are good at and what you love doing, and it has really triggered my mind. And as I told you, when this topic about the purpose, really, I was really waiting for it, so it is timely, really, especially to my life. And I have really seen what I love doing and what I can do best. And also the last time we talked about the fulfillment, that when you do what your purpose is, you feel like you, and I was inspired by the story of the one who started the school. I can't remember the name. El said something that
Yes,
you leave the job which can be more paying, but you run for your purpose because it is fulfilling. You feel like you're okay. And also you said like now these days we are looking for money, especially when you have not earned something, when you have not saved something on your account, or you don't have some property somewhere, you look for money. And according to the purpose, they say, if you follow your purpose, money look for you. Maybe before I go further to explain what I've understood. Maybe you explain for me that one. That you don't need to look for money, but if you follow your purpose, money will look for you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Aloysius. At least you're on the right track. You gathered quite much. Yeah, let's help him answer that question. How is it that if you follow your purpose, money will look for you? You want to be a dancer, but somebody or your parent or guardian or the society pushes you go practice medicine. So anybody who can answer that, also from the text, actually we've written about that. We've written about that in that section where we've read.
Yes, let me try. I'm thinking like when you're doing something that is natural to you and stuff that is already inside you, it's less not less of energy, but you kind of flow in it. I'm thinking of a friend of mine who just opened a bakery just the other day. And for the longest, we kept telling her she can do cakes, she can do those things, and she really does them very well. But she kept wanting just to do for kidogo too. So when she was able to do that, to open that, and you can see her baking is so flawless and almost energyless. She does it so easily because it's what is her talent. Yeah. So I'm thinking that when we are able to walk in our talents and are able to do things, we are able to do them at a higher level, and therefore they are attractive even to other people, that they are even able to buy into them, because really it's a gift, just like we are saying the Kina Michael Jordan and the rest, that when you're able to do things that are inside you, you're able to do them better than other people who have probably trained to do them. So that's how money comes after you, in that you'll do a better job. You'll be able to produce better than people in your category. My take.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Jane. Thank you very much. That is it. Somebody else would like to add on to that?
Paul, let me go.
Yes.
I believe that when you do your purpose, that means you in alignment with your life. You create value, and once you create value, then you attract. Because most of the time we chase and yet we don't have value. Just like you've mentioned, all these other guys, they created value and then they attracted money. But most of the time what we do, we chase money and yet we don't have value. So then the opposite occurs. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you very much, John. Anybody else would like to add something about that? Inspired to speak something, maybe out of the text, or about answering that question, trying to answer Aloysius. Okay, I'd like to say the following. One, we've said that. Chris, you want to say something? Okay. I'd like to say that Chris, your connection is making some noise. Okay,
You
good.
can hear me right now.
Yes. Okay. Go ahead.
Okay. For me, it's just I wish to add a contribution. Just this is a topic that is dear to me, and also for the young generation as they try to come up. Maybe you realize afterwards. And one of the things that I've found that may be helpful is when somebody is doing this idea of planning your life and also establishing your purpose. I think the first thing somebody should do first is identify what God has designed you to do. You can ask God through prayer, and God can show you the talents that He has given you, talents and gifts that He has given you. I've noted I have maybe a strong something, the small that I differ with the personal development industry, that people tend to do what I want. I want this because it will make me rich, or this. But eventually, maybe you might do it and you find there's no sense of fulfillment, yet you will see that it's your purpose. I think it's good first, we don't rush. We take a small break. You can meditate upon it for some time, and God is not always
Chris, I think you're done, maybe. Yeah, I'd like to say that in answering to Aloysius, that we have
It's always generous, given you, and also the gifts. Yeah? For the I'm a fan of these people, Rockefeller, I don't know, Bill Gates, the way people quote them, they don't know success, because what they do with their wealth is contrary to nature and also natural law. So I would say we should first place it in prayer before God. That is just my takeaway point of home today. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you. Thank you. I think your network has not been very clear, but I got you. This is what I'd like to say to Aloysius. One is we said that when we human beings are making something, whether it's a house we are building, or it's a vehicle, or it's whatever it is, a cloth, we always know for what reason are we doing this. If I'm making a jacket, I know this is a jacket, it's for warmth, and I keep it appropriately. If we are building a house, we know this is a school, this is a residential house, and we keep it appropriately. If we are even within the house, we know which room is for what, and they are kept appropriately. You go to a kitchen, you will find things that are related to the kitchen. You see, it makes sense, therefore, that the creator of all that is did not also just create aimlessly. He knew exactly what we were meant to be for. And every creation was purposely created. It wasn't random. And we've learned over the years and through nature that God is never random, and the universe is never in chaos. Everything is well thought, well calculated, well programmed. And some years, many years ago, when I was in the university, one of our, it was believed that physicists or scientists are really not pro-God or don't believe in God. So this was a physics lecturer talking to us. And he was saying that, you see, the way the universe is created, the way the planetary motion is moving is such that if we increase the speed of the Earth by a millionth, then people would cease to exist. There won't be life. The same thing would happen if we reduce the speed, meaning it is precisely calculated to sustain life. You look at the way they are moving, the way the planetary bodies are moving, there is really no path for them, but they don't collide. They don't collide. So the creator is a very purposeful being. He was able to order everything to be in a manner that sustains each other. And that's something we call harmony. There is no chaos. In physics, there is what we call entropy. Yeah, that is the measure of disorder. The disorder in this universe is very little. And what happens is most human beings, for either deliberately or otherwise, create disorder by not following the harmony, the natural harmony of the universe. If you check even trees, a tree that is meant for the plains will not grow on the hills or in the mountains. A tree that is meant for polar region will not be in the desert. That's the way it works. And the tree that is in the desert is so equipped to be able to live in the desert. And if you look at it keenly, you'll realize that even whichever the country you are in or part of the universe you live in, where you were born and where you find yourself, it's not a random. It's not randomized. That is where you can actually become your best, because that's the way the creator is. And now you'll realize that if the creator so equips every body into existence appropriately for whichever the work they are supposed to do, then you too were equipped. And this is why you'll realize that the natural talents you have, whatever, and again, it's good to know that God speaks to us through our hearts, largely. We are one in God. We are one with God. There is a level of understanding that makes you, and this is also theological, yeah, that we are we are taught that we are in the image and likeness with God. Many times it's difficult to understand. We tend to think that God therefore looks like a human being. But recently, last Saturday, I was attending a dinner, and the speaker was talking about God creating the soul when we are co-creating the physical. So there is a soul in us which is part of God. And that is a medium through which we are able to speak to the universe. We are able to co-create with God. And God is always able to speak to us through that heart. And so if you check your natural talents and those things that you love, you will find yourself oscillating towards where you should be. And now, how does money come in? Because this is where now we are answering the question. We are saying if you follow your heart, then money is going to find you. Why? Because there are principles of success, and this one will also go ahead into perhaps contributing to what Chris is saying. There are principles of success and fulfillment. These principles dictate that, one, there is the extra mile principle. Remember, there is a definition there we've quoted, and I know we will discuss it better as we move along, that success, that was according to Nightingale, is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. A worthy, the word is worthy. It's predetermined worthy ideal, and it's progressive realization. It's not the ultimate, it's not the destination. It's that progress towards that which is worthy. You see? So if you think about it, you realize that you will not have that extra mile principle that takes you there, because you will need some stamina. You'll need some degree of going a little more than the rest, a little more than the ordinary crowd, because success is never average. Success is always at that extra mile. And this only comes when you are at your sweet spot. You are doing what you're good at, what you love doing. So we've got to remember that, number one, we are going to have that tenacity. We are going to have that ability to do that extra mile without being pushed. Number two, there is creativity that is required. And that is now what even brings about inventions, innovation. You naturally can see how better it can be done. And that creativity usually comes in with passion, with enthusiasm. I'm told that when enthusiasm goes to the next level, it is now where we call it passion. And that level of enthusiasm will enable you to be infectious. When you're doing that which you're doing, people will naturally get attracted to you, get to know or identify how well you are at doing it. And now that is what John talks about as value, because you've got to prove your value in the marketplace. And by the way, let it go on record that God did not create mediocre people. The creation was perfect and everything was said, it is good. So there is no excuse in being mediocre and then saying we are not pursuing success, we are not pursuing that the best that we could be. Somebody asked, how tall can a tree grow? And the answer is as tall as it can. It won't be stopped by what people are saying around, mediocre things or something. So we've got to grow to become our best. We've got to grow to become, to reach the potential which God created us to be. If you are created, for example, you're a teacher, you are created to teach, let's say 100,000 people, and you reach your 100,000, that is success. You are moving towards reaching that 100,000, that's success. But if somebody else was created to teach 1,000 people maybe, and he's reached 1,000, and you are created for 100,000, and you reach 10,000, don't say that, well, you see, this person is only at 1,000. No, that person is successful. You are still not utilizing your full potential. And I've always used this analogy. Suppose you give somebody a gift. You gifted somebody, recently we just had Valentine, you gifted somebody maybe a necklace, and you don't see her putting it on, or you gifted somebody with a suit and you don't see him putting it on. How do you feel? That is the same thing that happens when God gives us certain gifts and we are not using them at all. So we've got to know that this money will follow us because we are naturally good at it, because we are passionate about it, we are creative enough, we are able to make it much better. Whether it's painting, people will see that the person who did this painting is not an ordinary person. That's where we had Michelangelo. That's where we've had all these other people, because they've been able to identify that which they can do best. Now, here's the mistake that most of us do. We will go to where we see that there is opportunity, there is money, but then we are not naturally endowed, and so we will become average at best. But average is just average, cannot make much, and besides, we will not be fulfilled. And that is why following other paths will not lead us to where we want to be. I hope that answered. I hope that answered it. I would like to share also one story I read in one of Trump's books of a gentleman who was very stressed, always gloomy, and he was earning a lot of money because he was a broker, stockbroker in New York Stock Exchange. He was following his dad because his dad, who was a senior broker and earning a lot of money, told him, this is where money is, this is where you've got to be. And he did it for years and he was not fulfilled. And he looked stressed. The family wasn't doing well. Always finding himself unwell, sick, and something like that. So at one point, when they were renovating a golf course because they belonged to a same golf club, this guy was appointed to be in charge, and he was rejuvenated. He felt life. There was life in him. You could see him vibrating. And he was able to do an excellent job. He would even wake up earliest and even finish late, trying to do his best. And he did a sterling job. And Trump told him, I think you are doing the wrong thing. You're in a wrong profession. You should be in a business of renovating golf courses. But he started thinking of what his dad pushed him to do, the years he had been invested, and he could not find how to fit into this new calling. So he went back, and Trump told him, you see, you will still continue grumbling. You will still continue pushing yourself into things that don't rhyme with you. But ultimately, when he took courage to change and start doing this other one, he became alive, and the family was happier, and they were fulfilled. That's the way it works. You will always feel that sweet spot when you get it. You'll always feel happy again. And that's why it said 2 days, 2 most important days in your life: the day you're born and the day you know why you're born. Thank you. Aloysius, did I answer you?
Yeah, excellent. Thank you
Great.
very much, Popit and others.
Good. Welcome everybody else. So let's contribute towards that. The questions that were asked there included: are you making use of your natural talents? Have you been able to identify what you're really good at? Are you following your heart? Are you where your heart is, or you're just doing things because that is where you found yourself? That's where money is. I remember in college, when we were finishing, lots of organizations were coming and giving people aptitude tests. One of them was PwC. Many people wanted to work there, but I couldn't see myself working in any financial organization. I wanted to be in a different field, engineering field, technology field, and something like that. I never applied for any of them, and it looked like absurd. I saw people doing CPAs in our college. Lots of people were going for this CPA, and I'm wondering, how do you want to make use of this CPA and things like that? Because it was not in my heart personally. So I'm the only one who didn't do all these other extra courses. But I was following my heart. That is just one. When I was coming to the university, I was advised by different people to do different things. Others wanted me to do education. They told me there is always room in education. You'll be admitted by TSC, you'll be working, there won't be a problem with job. Yeah, some other people told me you need to be in construction industry. You can be construction manager or something. And people had different ideas, but I personally wanted to just do science, to do physics. Originally, I wanted to do engineering, but when I didn't qualify for it, I just wanted to do science because I wanted to understand how things work and why they work the way they do. And that's what I did. First choice, BSc Physics, University of Nairobi. And these are the ones. I put them there because I had to fill in 4. And that's the way I got to what I did. And I've never regretted it. I still love every bit of my choices. Thank you. So let's contribute to the same. I know some of us had said they are already pursuing, they're already in their field, like Elsie. So other contributions or questions?
One thing
Or
is for
comments?
sure. OPP, thank you
Yes.
for enlightening us this morning. But one thing is for sure, the main thing you said is, what is this that makes you come alive? And once you identify what this is that makes you come alive, you'll be able to even go the extra mile. You give it your all. You'll be able to say, you know what, I can give the next 5 years to make sure that I get the skills to upgrade me, to make sure that I give my best even as I stay alive. That's my take from what you've said.
Thank you. And that is the way innovation comes in. Most of the innovations that we've had, we get them from people who are passionate, including the ones we know, like Henry Ford and the rest. Thomas Edison, they were pursuing what they loved, and they could visualize and feel it. That's why, by the way, Jesus would work for 3 days and teaching people all day long, and then he feels like, hey, I've been with these people long enough, they are hungry, now I need to feed them. Feeding was not the main business. The main business was feeding them with word, not with food. But his passion and his calling was in feeding them with the word. And he could do that extra mile. It is said that at one when they went, it was evening. They went. They said, "Well, it's late. Let's cross to the other side." But the crowd identified where they are going and ran there ahead of them. And when he saw them, he said, he had pity on them and said they were like sheep without a shepherd, and taught them many things. That's the exact text. And taught them many things. He was passionate. He could always go on and on and on. Thank you very much. Yeah. So any other? Janti, did I see that you wanted to say something?
No, I'm following.
Okay, great. Somebody else?
Opipi, yeah?
Yes, John.
There's something I was reading actually yesterday. It was an advert run by an agency for Apple in '97, and it said, those who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are actually the ones who do. The misfits, as in all the people that at one point we thought are nerds. When like we said that you come up with an idea, and then people think, oh, this guy is crazy. What is he telling us? Those are the people who exactly end up changing the world, because these guys are passionate about what they're actually doing, and they do not, they're not looking for validation. I think most of the time what we do is that we look for validation so that we end up not hitting the right target or becoming alive, like Elsie puts it. So, and then also the other thing that I've also, a common factor that I've seen with those who have been able to pursue and successfully achieve what they've been pursuing is that they did align themselves with the laws of nature. And we all know where the laws of nature come from. In other words, these are people who aligned with themselves with the laws of the big book, you know. They will tell you that one thing we have to do for us to achieve what we want to achieve is that we have to put God first. And once we do that, then we are able to, you know, we are able to achieve great things. So I think those are some of the things that as we pursue whatever it is that we are pursuing, we have to align ourselves with the laws of nature, and we are able to, then we'll be able to succeed in whatever field that we've decided to take. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We've got to be in harmony with the creation. So many years ago, when I was visualizing this, I was seeing it like you are walking in a maze. You are walking in a place that has multiple paths, but some paths have barbed wires or thorns, but you are not able to see them physically. You can only see them spiritually. But if you are spiritually blind, then you won't see them. And so you will keep injuring yourself, trying this, knocking yourself, knocking your head on this wall, trying to look for a way out. While if you just listened keenly to your heart, united yourself with the creation of all that exists, then you will always get the natural rhythm. And you've talked about approval. Lots of people on earth were disapproved by the so-called experts. And by the way, for your record, like Einstein was discontinued, my professor used to say, was discontinued in nursery. And Einstein even sold insurance when he was starting to write articles through his observation, through his natural intuition and study. Professors ignored it. Who is this person? What is he talking about? This has never been known. And it didn't make sense for a long time. And he would just write, didn't bother whether people are reading or not, write and deposit them in the libraries and something like that. Ultimately, some professor just said, let me call this guy and listen to him. And that, by the end of the day, made the whole difference. It took him over 10 years trying to prove the relativistic theory of relativity. Yes. And it looked odd. It looked like you are crazy. You know, I know that is a difficult subject for many of us. But if you come to think about it, he was talking against all that had been known before. He was coming up with something that was drastically new against the physics that we had known, which we called the Newtonian physics. But then Einsteinian physics revolutionized the world. And today, we can't imagine a world that could be without it. But this is somebody that was disapproved by all, and he stopped schooling. The mother was disappointed and chased to go back with her boy home. And this guy did self-study. So we don't need any approval because, like, I think, John, you're the one who said, it is never a conference call when you are being assigned your call, your mission in life. It's never a conference call. When you are being given your dream, it's never a conference call. It's an individual affair. When Joseph in the Bible was getting these dreams about being a leader, people bowing, it was not for all their siblings. And even at one point, the dad, Jacob, said, no, do you mean even myself and your mom will bow to you? You see, it didn't make sense, but that was in his heart. That's why sometimes we say, know what you want and keep it to yourself. So no looking for approvals. The other thing that I'd like to state is every calling is important, and every calling has as much money as you may want to get. You only need to prove that you have value in the marketplace. And this is now where most of us don't invest a lot, like Elsie was saying, even going extra mile to study, to equip yourself and build yourself enough for it. Take, for example, I know, like some of us, where I come from, people would like to know, even your parents would like to know. So how will I introduce myself? I remember a cousin of mine was telling me some years back that a dad would see his child dancing, and the child insisted that he wants to be a dancer. And then the dad asked, so how will I introduce myself? That I'm the father of a dancer? No, you need to do something more serious. Yeah. And even this guy, this Flaco guy, this I don't know, it's called Flaco, a comedian. He was a neighbor. They were neighbors with one of my cousins, and he was telling me about their story. You see, the dad could not agree. You just want to be a comedian. But even that now has made a lot of sense, and they are making their own money and they are fulfilled. He's making his money is fulfilled. The same with churches. Yeah. Imagine if you're telling your dad, I want to be a comedian, and not an engineer, not a lawyer, not a, something is wrong. I asked somebody this, is a very serious artist, sculpture artist. He makes things, sculpturing and things like that, and drawing. And I was asking, how did you choose this? Because it was in the 80s that he chose that in the 80s and did it in the School of Fine Arts, the KE. Were you not opposed by your dad? And he said, yes. Many times they could not agree with me, but I had to do it. I felt like that is where I belonged, and I'm happy. He was giving us a talk. And not long ago, Yunga Pala, I think I stated this sometimes back. But Yunga Pala, most of you know him. He's a writer. He was giving us a talk, and I asked him, how did you choose to be a writer in the time when many parents would have wanted you with your knowledge to maybe study law or something? Then he told me that, you see, even to date, they keep asking, when are you going to get a proper job? When are you going to do something serious? That is the way the world is. No approvals. You need to follow your heart. Thank you. Somebody else would like to contribute something?
Hi, Fifi.
Yes, Rachel.
I would like to add on something. Out of it, yes, it is good to discover your purpose, but one thing I've come to learn, it is work. You have to work. After you discover your gift and talent, you have to master. You have to sharpen your skills in the area. It is not a quick fix. Yes, it is easily said. When you are in your purpose, money will follow you. But how will money follow you? Money will follow you after you have mastered your area and you are able, as someone said previously, able to offer value. And that is now people will be attached and they will say, yes. If you call someone, if you need this, reach out to someone. Your product or your service is giving value to them. So it is work. And you have given several examples like the one for Nelson Mandela. How many years did he stay in the prison? 27 years. And he was sure of his call, of his purpose to end apartheid in South Africa. But it didn't come within a short period. So you don't know how long it's going to take you to achieve that. So you have to make sure every day you are working on yourself. You are mastering your skills. Even Jesus had his mission in the world, as you have quoted him. And he started his mission after 30 years. But all these 30 years, what was he doing? He was preparing himself. So it is always good after you have discovered, make sure you are preparing yourself. You are learning every day. You are unlearning those things that are not taking you to achieve your goal. So it is work. You have to be ready to work every day, every minute, and then eventually you'll get there, and then people will come for you. You will not go to look for them. That is what I wanted to add. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You're right. And that's why we say you will get the enthusiasm to go the extra mile, to have that tenacity. Because, and this one I love to tell people when they are getting started in a business. I told you we always help people get started and support people as they grow their businesses. What happens is sometimes even entrepreneurs pick a business thinking this is where the opportunity is. That is okay. But the question is, will you be able to do it until you reach the level of success that you are happy with? You cannot do that in a field that you do not resonate with, because for a long time, when you get started, you're going to work literally for free. You're going to do it for free. You're going to spend a lot of hours, a lot of resources, but doing it without any idea who is going to pay you finally. But after some time, then you will find some people getting interested in paying you. And over time, now people start looking for you, willing to pay you to do it or to provide the same service or the same commodity. So if you are not in that particular field where you get fulfilled naturally as you're doing it, then you will find a problem sustaining it. And that's why some people, why enough people, and by the way, this is very typical with Kenyans, in 1 year, you meet him or her in January, tells you, I'm selling clothes. When you meet in September, maybe you've gotten a baby, you're calling, yeah, I wanted some clothes, oh, but I left that business. Nowadays, I'm selling bajia. Oh, then this person left these clothes, went to sell maybe groundnuts and went to sell grains, and then now bajia. You know, people keep changing because they are in a field that does not rhyme with them. They are just looking for the cash. But you will not be able to get enough cash if you are not very good at what you're doing. You cannot be good enough if you are not in a field that you're not naturally suited for. It's like putting a rabbit to swim. It cannot swim better than a duck. It's like putting a duck to fly. It cannot fly better than an eagle. So we've got to know that if we follow our natural equipment, that is, what we are naturally equipped with, and we invest enough to grow our value in the marketplace, nothing is going to stop us. Thank you. Yes, Nelson.
Now, mine is to add on to what Rachel is said and answer someone who asked about how do we unlearn. A few weeks ago, I read a quote that the mind, like a parachute, works best when it's open. The mind, like a parachute, works when it's open. You cannot work with a closed mind. You can't grow with a closed mind. Now, what basically that means is when we've been cultured over time to think of things as black or white, left or right, top or down, thinking about everything in duopoly and missing what the sweet spot in the middle, the gray areas. Now, personally, what I've undertaken to do is to try and learn something new every day and always ask, what if what I know is wrong? And that basically is what is meant by unlearning. When you start asking yourself, if you ask yourself, what if what I know is wrong, then that creates room for you to learn something new. And it also gives you room to listen to another person's perspective, because most of the things that we know we've learned from somebody else's opinion. Let me illustrate. Before Galileo, everybody thought that the sun went around the earth, that the sun rotated around the earth. And Galileo was actually imprisoned because of coming up with a different view, arguing that it's the earth that goes around the sun. And for the longest, he was even called a heretic and people would not believe it. Today, that's what we believe. There was a time that people said that the earth was flat and that if you sailed to the edges of the earth, you'd fall off. Today, we know that to be otherwise. So the thing is, unless you are willing to look at things differently, then you're not going to learn anything new. Unless you open your mind and assume you don't know. There is also an analogy that I read somewhere about an empty cup versus a full cup. You cannot fill a full cup. A cup that's already full, you can't fill it up. However, you can always fill an empty cup. You can fill it with new content. So that's the same thing about the brain. If you are stuck in what you believe you know, then you will not learn anything new. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And I've seen that question from Morris. That is accurate. Thank you, Nelson. I've learned, there is something I love saying, and I think I've put it also in this book, that if we learn the art of listening, and people have rebuked me for this, but I love to say it because that is my nature. I always listen to people, even when others think it's nonsense. And sometimes I quote very unfamiliar sources. Yeah, I wrote it, and I've always told people that even if you listen to a madman speaking, this madman may not understand the sense of whatever he just spoke. But if you listen well, you will be able to gather some sense there. Something that can make natural, that can improve your philosophy. And I have enough examples about that. Sometimes you do not need to, the person who spoke it does not need to understand how profound what he or she said means. And that is something we will always learn when we always put an element of doubt about what we've learned so far. Is there something else? Could I be wrong? And the moment and this one helps even when you are running a meeting or when you are in a meeting and you have your own opinion. When you start giving audience and even listening and even studying, you will always gather something new. I remember one point we were in a hall meeting some years back, and we were trying to point something up for the person who was speaking, and he could not get it. I don't remember what exactly it was, but we were trying to draw his attention to it. and he could look for it, and then he said something like, well, you can't see what you are not looking for. And to me, I always speak a statement and I can listen to it in my head, pondering it over for even years. But then it makes more sense over the time, and I get some profound knowledge out of it. I realized if you are not looking for something, you are probably not going to see it. That's the way it works. So thank you very much. We've got to know that we are never full. And another one of my teachers said, the more we know, it is when you think you know it all that you should study even harder, because the more you know, the more you realize you don't know. And just to also put that into perspective again, as last week we said, I was quoting from another author who said, if you are on the wrong track and you just get motivation and keep going, you may reach where you are not supposed to reach much faster. So we need more knowledge. We always keep learning so that we are able to change the direction instead of just speeding up towards the direction that we picked. Great. So I see we are 2 minutes to time. Any other contribution or comment? I want to believe all of us we are fulfilling our purpose.
Yes, PP. A quick
Yes,
one
Rachel.
to add on what Nelson has said there about unlearning. I learned this from T. Harves. He says, don't believe a thought in your mind. And this one came to me very profound, and I was asking myself, what is he exactly saying? And when I started the journey of financial literacy, I came to learn that there are things, okay, he says that we are born with an empty mind, but we are programmed from what we hear, what we see, what we learn from others. But there is no way a person asks themselves, is it really true? We don't question what you have learned. So to unlearn, it is to ask yourself, what you believe, is it really true? It is good to question and do a research on it. And this is where I came to understand some of the things I learned. I programmed myself about money when I was young. They are not really true, because like now I came, as I grew up, unajua huko Ushago, me, I grew up in up country, and there are those people we knew who are rich. And your parents, because you are poor, could not allow you to get in nearer the rich people, because the rich people are proud. Their children are going to school in shoes, and you are walking barefooted. So that mentality, I grew up with it, but I came to discover, no, rich people, they are not proud, they are not evil. It's only that they are very key, they are very concerned about where their income comes from. So they don't have time to sit and gossip with you, or they don't have time to spend money with people who are not ready to work hard and have more money work for them. So unlearning, it is you asking yourself, what I believe, is it true? Do a research and learn whether it is true or not. And then you unlearn now after knowing the truth. Thank you.
Thank you. And the one big problem that most of us do is we have a tendency to believe everything, and more so if somebody has a connotation of an expert, it limits us. After gathering, I was taught that let your decision be your own. Yes, it is not, you conclude on your own. Don't make your conclusion become somebody's. Yeah, you don't pick everything else that you are told, and somebody said, read this, listen to that, and then make your own conclusion and make your own decision so that you own it. Digest everything. Thank you very much. We are well off the time, but I think that discussion was worth it. If we are not in our calling, natural rhythm, we better be. And if we still require further discussion, we can organize it sometimes in the future. But I think our next one will be something to do with what people call success. And I think that will be very, very important for us.